Louisville faces mandated police reform after a scathing report from the Department of Justice. So what are the next steps moving forward?
As WDRB's Christy Batista tells us, it's going to be quite a process. Christy?
Well, it's hard to say exactly how long this process will take, but everyone familiar with it has been telling us years. We talked with a New Orleans police officer to give us some perspective. That department has been under a consent decree for about 10 years.
If you're not a big enough person to look in the mirror and say, I can do better, then maybe this isn't the profession for you, because our profession is constantly evolving and changing.
In 2010, the DOJ started looking into an alleged pattern of civil rights violations and other misconduct by the New Orleans Police Department.
Well, the eye of Hurricane Katrina is making landfall as we speak.
We were coming off of Hurricane Katrina. We had a lot of needs and a lot of real dysfunction.
Not long after, the department and the feds entered into a consent decree. The DOJ detailed tasks and goals in a nearly 130-page report, 492 paragraphs of benchmarks the department had to achieve. New Orleans Deputy Superintendent says that's what'll come next in Louisville, and it'll be more in-depth than the pattern and practice, which was released Wednesday.
It has been a very long and hard road, but 10 years later, we're a completely different department than we were when we started the consent decree, and we are a better department for it.
It's a long, arduous process, and from a department that's been there, Louisville has a long road ahead. He says once a monitoring team is in place, they'll look at the department's best practices. They'll do a complete revamp of all of the policies in place and redraw all of the training to make sure it's up to standards. Then, he says, they'll take a look at the supervision.
Supervisors can do a lot of the prevention, whether it's your peer or your supervisor. If supervisors are stepping in, then a lot of times a lot of these misconduct issues won't happen.
If the policies, training, and proper supervision is all in place, but the department is still seeing issues, then they'll take it a step further.
Then they'll look at the disciplinary process to determine, if it's robust enough to ensure that people are being held accountable when they commit misdeeds. And really, that's how the consent decree worked for us. And I expect that any entity entering into it in the future, that's probably the path that they're going to have to take as well.
Now, it is important to note that Louisville is a long way from this. They first have to draft this decree, and then a federal judge has to be appointed before the department even gets that monitoring team. That'll be the first step in the process. Reporting with photojournalist Neil Johnson, I'm Christy Batista, WDRB News.